We're live now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's webinar, which is launching the public consultation phase relating to the vision for Lough Muckno Estate. Well, thank you for your interest in attending here tonight. My name is Paul Clifford. I'm Director of Services with Monaghan County Council. And after a short introduction from myself, I'm going to present Mark Mohan, Regional Manager with Fáilte Ireland, and Professor Terry Stevens, who's the founder and Managing Director of the multi-award-winning international tourism consultancy, Stevens and Associates. Terry will present his vision for the development of Lough Muckno Estate, which of course will impact on the town and its hinterland, and we hope the region. Terry has worked in over 50 countries around the world, specialising in destination development, marketing and placemaking. He has worked with clients such as UNESCO, the UN World Tourism Organization, the European Investment Bank and the UK Department for International Development. Just before we start, some housekeeping rules for tonight. We aim to finish before 8 p.m. and the webinar is being recorded. It will be displayed on the Council website until the end of the public consultation period, which is the 10th of September. Now, you can participate in the public consultation in a number of ways. During tonight's webinar, you can submit a question using the chat box facility at the top of your screen. If you have a tablet, you may need to tap the screen in order to get the question mark symbol or the Q&A. We'll answer whatever questions we can tonight, but we may not be able to answer your specific question. However, if you attach your email address to the question, we'll give an undertaking to come back directly to you. The second way to participate is by emailing us directly with your question or suggestion, and we have set up a mailbox account, muckno@monaghancoco.ie. That's Muckno, M-U-C-K-N-O, @monaghancoco.ie. And that address will remain active until the 10th of September, the end date for the public consultation process. The third method of participation, and the one which we would encourage you to use, it allows for greater reflection and considered input, is to log on to the Council website tomorrow and review the webinar if you wish, the presentations. You can look at the presentations and the executive summary. And there's then an online form that you can complete. And that form also provides opportunities for you to input your ideas to the visioning process here. So as I said, the webinar, the presentation and the executive summary will be available on the Council's website, www.monaghan.ie, from tomorrow. We intend to gather all the views that were expressed over the next month and compile them in an overview of the process with all your inputs. I'd like to thank our technical team here tonight, Gavin and John, and also Dint McCondra, our tourism officer, and Shane Rafferty of Fáilte Ireland, who've contributed immensely to the process here. So that's the introduction. By way of context, I just want to set out how we, Monaghan County Council, have arrived at this point in time in relation to Lough Muckno. You'll see there a short timeline on the screen. Muckno Estate was, of course, granted to Sir Edward Blayney in 1607 by the Crown, and that's how the town derived its name. Since independence, Hope Castle and the annex buildings had a variety of uses. It became a convent in the 1930s and was then acquired privately. The council purchased it from a company in 1980. They restored Hope Castle and the annex buildings, which were derelict at the time, and they operated as a hotel with a 9-hole golf course, caravan park, and developed some facilities along the lake. The council operated the facility until 1994. It lost a shed load of money. You wouldn't believe the deficit we had after operating it for a short period, maybe 18 months, 2 years. And in 1988, Monaghan County Council issued a 20-year lease to a company called Haringbrook Properties Limited. Now, that transaction became the subject of protest and dispute in the 90s, and ultimately resulted in legal proceedings which lasted a period of up to 15 years. So in what year was it? In 2017, the council managed to re-establish its freehold ownership and of the estate, and we set about getting funding to restore parts of it, such as the Water Sports Centre in 2018. We have a triathlon changing area, an open air gym. We've developed new walkways. So the park as a public amenity has been developed. The council restored the first gate lodge in 2016 as a community meeting room. And the second gate lodge is currently undergoing restoration as a library and art gallery. In tandem, we have plans for the centre of the town, Market Square and Market House, and Main Street. And so it's an exciting time in Castleblayney in relation to development. With regards to the estate, Gavin, if we just move to the next slide. In 2018, the council commissioned a consulting company, CHL and Howley Hayes Architects, to look at the options for the estate. And they looked at diverse uses, retail, residential, commercial, and made a number of recommendations within the report. But when we went to the market, we found that the proposal that they had for a hotel would require significant financial commitment by the council, and there was no return on capital at the time. Significant additional investment would be needed to redevelop and extend the castle to make it viable as a hotel. So, as I say, the council has developed the amenity area over the past 5 years, but the annex and the castle remain underdeveloped following the arson attacks about 7 to 10 years ago, and they both impinge greatly on the amenity of the area. So we're anxious to maximise the potential of the estate, not in terms of monetary value, but in terms of what it can bring to the local economy and what it can contribute to the region. So the council, the chief executive, Eamon O'Sullivan, approached Fáilte Ireland in 2020 to explore whatever options there were to develop the facility. And together with Mark Mohan, regional manager of Ireland's Ancient East, we commissioned Stevens and Associates to identify the potential of the estate and the surrounding areas and what it could offer to the region. So this visioning report that Stevens and Associates have completed is the first step along the route. As I said, it's the very first step. We're involving the public in this consultation process, and we're anxious to share the report with you and look for your views over the coming month. So with this now, I'm going to hand you over to Mark Mohan from Fáilte Ireland.
That's great. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for the introduction. My name's Mark Mohan. I'm a manager on the Ireland's Ancient East brand team. I have responsibility for the tourism development of County Monaghan, County Meath and Louth, and parts of East County Cavan and East West Meath as well. But this evening we're here to talk about County Monaghan, obviously. Myself and my colleague Shane Raftery, who you were introduced to by Paul, work as a team very proactively with Paul, Dimpna and others on their team to look at how we can develop tourism assets and develop the tourism destination that is Monaghan. In addition to that, we look at how we can immobilise industry and get them activated and developing tourism experiences. Over the last 18-24 months, we have been very proactive in our strategic partnership with Monaghan County Council, and we're involved in a number of initiatives at the moment, looking at product development and industry capacity building in the north of the county, North Monaghan, in Monaghan town itself in relation to a destination town project, in the southern part of the county in terms of cluster development with a group of industry in the southern part of the county around Carrickmacross. And here, relevant to tonight's presentation, part of what we agreed to look at in partnership with the council is how we could, I suppose, bring this wonderful asset that is Muckno Park to life from a tourism perspective. So you heard from Paul in relation to the work that's been ongoing over the years in the park. What we decided to do in partnership with the council here was to look at this more holistically and look at what the collection of all the wonderful assets that exist within the park could do as a tourism destination. You have the loch itself, Obviously, you have the green open space. You have a world-class golf course on the southern end of it as well. You have the forested area, and what's unique and special about Lough Muckno is that it's practically in the centre of Castleblayney. So, I suppose considering those assets, what we did was we looked to the expert that is Terry Stevens to see how we could develop this wonderful asset as a tourism destination in itself. Now, what you're seeing on the screen here, and it's just to set the context of what we do, this is a heat map that you're seeing on the screen here at the moment. Part of our challenge as the National Tourism Authority here is to develop tourism product in all aspects of the country. And you can see to the left hand side of the screen here at the moment, the graphic shows in 2017, County Monaghan, which you'll recognise it's not called out, but it's shaded fairly blue, which suggested the number of overseas tourists to Monaghan is fairly low, and the map is not heated in that regard at all. Now, there has been positive contributions in terms of international visitors coming to Monaghan over the subsequent years, and right through to 2019 you can see that map starting to heat in terms of an interest and a spreading of the visitor into County Monaghan. Obviously, this last 2 years we can't give you the time's not good with the pandemic, obviously, to show you how that has developed. In essence, the whole thing has stopped from an international perspective. So the heat map, as you see, relevant to 2019, 2019 is as it is at the moment. Now, where we see the opportunity here, if we get a world-class attraction in the centre of County Monaghan, it has the potential to develop that whole area of the northeast from our perspective. It is right in the centre of the drive and the two main entry points to the island of Ireland being Dublin and Belfast. And we see a real opportunity here if we get the proposition right to develop an attraction of scale in Castleblayney and Monaghan. And we believe that we have got the raw assets in all the different parts that make up Lough Muckno and Castleblayney. So that's the context in terms of our involvement. We're delighted to be working proactive with the council here to look at possibilities and to develop the vision here for Muckno. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Terry Stevens, who, as Paul has rightly said, is a renowned expert the world over in developing destinations, and has brought his expertise here to look at the development of a vision for what is Muckno in Castleblayney. So over to you, Terry. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be with you all this evening. Just sorry I can't be with you in person for obvious reasons. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. And I'm very humbled by the comments that are coming through. And Mark, thank you very much for explaining Fáilte Ireland's perspective. In setting out on the journey to develop this vision on your behalf, it was vitally important to us that we considered a number of things. And I just want to touch on these before I enter the presentation as a whole. And I'm going to start off by just reiterating what Mark has said, is that rarely in all of our experience around the world have we come across a location where the assets to create something really special are all in place. You know, the landscape, the loch, the history, the heritage, the proximity to the town, and so on. And so in looking at the opportunities, we were having to consider a number of things. Those things are as follows. Firstly, what was likely to be relevant to what you, your children, and the people who might visit Castleblayney, County Monaghan and Ireland will want to do in their leisure, recreation, time and seeking enjoyment and entertainment in 2030 and beyond? Because any project is going to take time to get developed and established. So it's a project that needs to be forward-looking at that scale. The second thing is we obviously need to be looking at the big trends. What's happening out there? And you all know and have been reading about some of these trends that are affecting our leisure time and the way we travel. And importantly, we're taking greater concern or thinking more deeply about the way in which our well-being is delivered, our health of ourselves, our families, and indeed the communities in the places we visit. The third thing we needed to consider was what's happening elsewhere. You know, if Fáilte Ireland and Monaghan County Council are going to deliver an ambition for you, and it's to be of world class, then we needed to understand what projects of world class status were transforming other destinations similar to yours. So we did a review of what was working elsewhere in the world. The next thing we had to consider was what's special about the history, heritage and landscape of the Muckno Estate in Castleblayney and County Monaghan, the place that you call home that would form the basis of this new vision. So clearly, Fáilte Ireland's objectives is about creating a world-class destination that can attract visitors. But for you as the community, obviously there are factors that go beyond that. Things like creating quality jobs, improving and enhancing your amenities, improving the quality of life for all who live, work and visit, and creating a community where local people, local young people can feel they have a future and are able to start a family and create jobs. So that's the context to lead me towards what we're setting out as a potential vision for you. It's ambitious, there will be challenges, there will be issues, there will be different opinions. And of course, that's why the council are asking you for your opinion during this consultation process. I reiterate what Paul said. This is a starting point. It's a vision. It's a statement of what could be. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, it's a vision. Please hold on to that, and your views and ideas and feelings and thoughts about this are welcomed, and you need to let the council know that your views over the next month or so. Next slide, please. This was the brief that we were given. The Fáilte Ireland with Monaghan County Council wanted to create a vision for Lough Muckno Estate that is a game-changing visitor attraction. The overall aim to build a credible, achievable, realistic vision for an estate that will have a compelling narrative that matches the strategic goals of Ireland in a post-COVID environment. A vision that could create a facility that became an exemplar of a new type of tourism development that will be required by communities and tourists in the future. And at the same time, the vision had to ensure the retention of access for the local community as you enjoy at present. Next slide, please. The concept we're bringing forward at its depth has been inspired by the ancient landscape of drumlins and domes. The domes that cover the great megalithic tombs of the area and this landscape of drumlins that reflect, the retreat of the ice at the end of the Ice Age. Next, please. And it's also been inspired by not only the history of the estate, but the stories associated with those people who were part of the estate's history. Paul has shown you the timeline of that history. But we've been inspired by, the work and thinking of Gilpin, great landscape architect, of Robert Woodgate, who designed Hope Castle, fabulous architect. The work of Claire Consuela Sheridan, sculptor, globally renowned artistic figure who lived on the estate. Kavanagh, of course, your poet, Big Tom, your singer, and also the work of Peter Rice, one of the world's best architectural engineers, who's from your square mile and is responsible for some of the greatest architectural engineering the world has known. So all of this was fueling ideas that was able to lead to a vision which we're going to share with you. Next, please. So just reiterating, an extraordinary natural heritage all present in the Muckno Estate and in Castleblayney and the wider area. The desire, as given in our brief, for a vision that would deliver an unprecedented range of activities available on a year-round basis, reflecting market trends. Something that global and domestic visitors will want to experience in the post-COVID environment. And backed up by market research, which is confirming a surge of interest in all kinds of adventure activities taking place in wonderful public spaces and wonderful landscapes, and offering unique ways of exploring an area's natural and cultural heritage and riches. Next, please. So the ambition clearly set out for us to deliver for you was something truly transformational. It had to be exemplary. It had to be a market leader. And in pursuit of the opportunity that lies ahead, we identified two options. In many ways, they should be seen as two steps to achieve the full potential. And they can be undertaken in stages over the next 5-10 years. First option is what we call the Muckno Adventure Estate. And the second one is the addition to the Muckno Adventure Estate, which we're calling the Great Drumlin of Adventure. Both of these steps, both of these options are aligned to relevant policies. Both options ensure the retention of access to the park for local people. And clearly, there will be a need for a comprehensive feasibility study should the Council, should Fáilte Ireland, with your support, move forward. Next, please. So let's begin with this step one, option one, the Muckno Adventure Estate. Critically, what we're proposing brings all the elements that have been described together, working hard together to ensure an integrated, holistic approach, where the connectivity of these zones, the town, the estate, Black Island, Conqueror Woods Golf Course and the Lough, are working hard together. And across that whole patch, the potential to deliver over 150 outdoor adventure activities, together with heritage, cultural and hospitality experiences. A way in which the town will benefit from all the things that could happen within these various zones. Next, please. So zone one, the historic estate, that sort of heartbeat of the narrative. A location which should be traffic free, can include an activity hub, the use of Hope Castle and the Wall Gardens as a cultural hub, perhaps with a sculpture park, the water activity centre being further developed, a cruise tour centre based on the Lough shore, as well as, the use of better and improved parkland walks and cycle paths, and a fishing lodge and conservation centre, perhaps in and on Black Island. And importantly, the idea of using some of the islands at least for accommodation, for special activities, maybe as a spa, and a link across the Lough to tie in with the greenways developing in the wider countryside. Next, please. Zone 2, the Lough itself. And here we're introducing the idea of the dispersed hotel. The idea that somewhere on the Lough shore will be a quality hotel, maybe associated with land owned by the golf club. But out on the islands will be lodges and chalets Some may be sitting on the loch itself, and they are dispersed rooms for a hotel. And we can link that with other accommodation elsewhere on the estate, say the fishing lodge, or if the golf course wanted to build some more golf lodges, or indeed accommodation available in the town. So the idea that Castleblayney is pioneering the idea of a dispersed hotel. Different types of rooms spread across the whole area, but serviced by a mothership, if you like, located on the loch shore. Conqueror Wood has already got a world-class reputation, as Mark has said, and there's scope for the golf club to further develop its facilities and its amenities, perhaps with a spa and wellness centre, a cookery school, and of course, adding some accommodation. Next, please. And then the town itself, fully integrated with whatever is happening on the estate. Market House becoming a showcase and centre of innovation of local produce, food and drink, and arts and crafts. The gatehouses, which are already being developed as that important point on the threshold between the town and the estate. A seamless link between moving between the town and the estate. Perhaps all the car parking for people visiting the estate as day visitors are actually car parks in and around the town. So all visitors will walk through the town, spending time, spending money, and making sure that the benefits of their visit are felt beyond the estate as a whole. And of course, looking at it in this way, we see opportunities for the furtherance of the angling interests, a role for the GAA club, giving visitor experiences of hurling and Gaelic football, and of course the college, which might be the venue for a cookery school. So a great platform for a wide range of additional experiences. Next, please. So you put all of that together and you have a wonderful, sustainable, community-focused set of products where the community as a whole is deriving benefit. And that has to happen if one is going to move to the truly transformational project, which we're calling the Great Drumlin of Adventure. This is radical, it's bold, it's ambitious, it's likely to be contentious, but in this we see the full transformation that is capable not just of putting County Monaghan and the northeastern borders region on an international tourist map, but capable of working for the whole of Ireland. Next, please. So this option 2, the Great Drumlin, the transformational option, requires the delivery of option 1. But it's this Great Drumlin, the home of adventure innovation in Ireland. Under this great panoply, this big umbrella, will be a series of covered spaces, the design reflecting the Drumlin landscape, reflecting the domes of the ancient monuments, and within it, all kinds of new types of activities that are currently not available at Lough Muckno, and with the addition of something called the deep space of adventure, which I'll explain a little bit more in a minute, one has the potential to deliver a global first for Ireland, delivering year-round, international, state-of-the-art, digital immersive adventure experiences for the whole family. Next, please. So a series of enclosed spaces, possibly covering Hope Castle, an extraordinary adventure venue. Within the dome, ice climbing walls, a homage to the Ice Age, abseiling, high ropes courses, canyoning. It's almost an infinite number of opportunities. And with the deep space, we create an 8-dimensional experience in partnership with a world leader that's already been running deep space of science for the last 8 years in Austria. Next, please. This has the potential to become globally iconic, best in class. It's a lot to take in. The design alludes to everything from the islands in the loch, the emergence of these domes from the water, a reflection of the crystalline form of the iconic Hope Diamond, which is intrinsically linked to the estate and the history of the Hope family and is currently in the Smithsonian. But overall, a facility that delivers for you year-round unprecedented opportunities for job creation, experiences, and adventure in Ireland's ancient East. Next, please. How much will it cost? Well, we're estimating between 65 and 100 million euros on a phased development program. It seems a lot of money, but it's comparable to what your competitor destinations are investing in transformational projects. With this whole project delivered out, we estimate 45,000 additional overnight stays in the region. 800 direct and indirect jobs created once established. So that's not counting jobs in the construction phase. And the potential to deliver £125 million a year annually to the local economy. Next, please. So let's just end by giving you a flavour of what the day visitor experience could be like. Next, please. And this is the range of opportunities that we see being delivered in the totality of this for the day visitor. Now, what I would stress in all of this is that every single picture that you see on that screen is a project that is real, up and running, and is successful, obviously with the exception of the illustration of the Great Dome. But in this, we're hopefully giving you some reassurance that these things are out there. Your competitors are doing them. And there's nothing stopping you, if you have the ambition and the wherewithal and the desire to deliver these types of wonderful experiences. And for the staying visitor, next please. Next. We see this range of opportunities to stay in interesting, well-designed, high-quality experiences in different types of accommodation, the dispersed hotel, the idea of solar-powered water taxis, interesting well-being experiences, enhanced golf club facilities, and put it all together. And we genuinely think that we have an opportunity, you have an opportunity to create something very special, a legacy for you, your children, and something for your grandchildren to be proud of and to enjoy in the years ahead. So I think that's the end of my presentation. By way of conclusion, option one is the whole estate model, an integrated approach, which is the starting point to allow you the platform, to allow you to move, if you're so minded, to option two, which is the truly transformational project. A project that will require large-scale investment, will require ambition, will bring with it challenges, but brings with it great opportunities. So I thank you very much indeed for tolerating me. The next stages, which the Council will need to go on, will obviously be the completion of this public consultation exercise. A full feasibility study will have to be undertaken, and we can talk more about that in a minute, perhaps. And of course, funding opportunities should be explored. But I would personally like to suggest that the time is right, post-COVID, for all of us to consider these types of opportunities that now are ahead for our communities to make the most of health, wellness, well-being, and a new future for tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. It's Paul Clifford back here again. And Terry's put a lot of work on this, and the publication of the report has been delayed due to COVID. We wanted to have public consultation, direct public consultation on this, but it's just not possible in the current climate. But as I said, Terry has been working on this for the last 9-12 months, and I'd like to thank him for his presentation and all his work on this to date. We've had a few questions in, and I just want to remind people that you can submit a question by using the chat box on the top of the screen. It may be denoted by a small question mark, a bubble with a small question mark. As I say, we will answer whatever questions we can tonight, but if you leave your email address, we will come back to you directly. If you're using a tablet, you may have to tap the screen in order to bring up that icon. You can email us directly at muckno@monaghancoco.ie, muckno@monaghancoco.ie. And then the third method is go to our website, where you can review. Tomorrow you'll be able to review this webinar, see the presentation, and there's an online form that we'd like you to complete, and also get your friend and get others to complete. So look, one of the first questions I've been here now is this idea like a centre parks for Monaghan. Terry, could I ask you to address that one?
Well, clearly, I'm going to say no. I hope it isn't. And there are a couple of features of this vision that are distinctly and very purposefully very different from centre parks. Now, centre parks is an extraordinarily successful model, and they have rolled out centre parks across Europe, across England, and of course now in Ireland at County Longford. But the whole thesis of the business model of centre parks is that they're designed to keep visitors within the boundaries of centre parks. Okay, of course, visitors will go out and explore, but centre parks are specifically designed with a range of restaurants, a range of on-site activities, and the whole idea is effectively you want to keep your customer within centre parks to spend as much time and money as possible. And that's not in any way decrying their model. It's a model that works, but that is the basis of this. Whereas this vision is one that is open, inclusive, and allows the thread of activities, visitor time, visitor spending, to be spread across the town, the wider region. I mean, in a sense, there's no walls around this. You know, it is, the visitor is able to just travel, make their journey through all the components. And one would love to think that in a 4 or 5 day stay, then they're going to explore all aspects of this. And the idea is to stimulate as much spending and activity to help with the regeneration of Castleblayney and indeed other communities across County Monaghan as possible. So it's almost, this is the opposite of a centre parks model, Paul.
Thank you, Terry. I hope that answered that question. I have a couple of questions here in relation to water quality, just 2 of them, and in relation to the biodiversity and preserving the status of the park. And actually, the question relates to water quality in the lake. I think that Lough Muckno was nominated as one of the top 10 most polluted lakes in the country. I think that was in an EPA report a number of years ago. And how can we develop a sustainable tourism facility with just poor water quality? The second part of the question remains: how can we? Are we aware of the Tidy Towns biodiversity plan that has recently been published, and what safeguards will be put in place to uphold the ecological integrity of Lough Muckno? if there's increased development of visitor numbers. I know myself that Irish Water have plans to upgrade the wastewater treatment facility, which discharges directly into the lake. So that's one step on it. But this is a visioning report. The next phase that we've outlined would incorporate a business case, a business plan. It would also incorporate an element of design and certainly an environmental analysis, and that would include an analysis of biodiversity, water quality, and even air quality in relation to the estate and the impact that any development would have. So that would be the next stage along the route if we go down to that feasibility stage, follow this public consultation process. We certainly wish no harm on the lake. And look, water quality is something that we have to address in terms of its use. I have a question here. Who's going to pay for this, and where will the investment come from? I'm going to back that one to Terry again.
Okay, well, I mean, the immediate answer is 1, no magic wand. 2, there are good sizable pockets of funding out there available at this moment in time and likely to continue, where there is scope for grant aid available from various sources within the public domain, within the public purse. I would imagine that we're going to, I'm not in any way jeopardizing or prejudicing the business case, but I would imagine that we're going to end up with a hybrid investment model, because part of this is about identifying opportunities for small business startups, for concessions, for other people who have a shared interest in developing a business associated with this, to be able to invest and to be able to help create some of the facilities. So it's going to be a hybrid model. The type of projects that we're seeing elsewhere around the world, particularly in addressing the sustainable elements which you just referred to, Paul, which I suggest have to happen anyhow, not just because of this project, but addressing water quality and so on needs to happen anyhow. But it's perfectly clear that there's a new generation of investors looking to invest in this type of project. And, I feel very strongly that the banks are moving in this direction, that this will be seen as a viable, sustainable project that is capable of enhancing sustainability and biodiversity and showing a new way of doing business, and therefore a hybrid model able to tap in, agile enough to be able to tap in to multiple sources is likely to be the solution to that question.
Thank you, Terry. I have another one here now. Will the amenity have a fee, an entrance fee, I presume, and will people be free to walk around currently? Look, it's at very early stages. The project is a vision report. The business case comes next. The intention and the instruction that we gave to Terry initially was that we've got to maintain access along the walking routes that are there, access to the lake and the traditional walking routes, whether it's around the lake shore, around Black Island, and we've plans to develop further walks up over the top, Omni Walk and that as well. I think in the last number of years we've created that new walk to the Dundalk Road. So the intention would be to maintain access, but there would be a fee for if there's going to be an investment in facilities or an investment in bringing a world-class visitor attraction. There would have to be a fee. Terry, have you any thoughts on that, or Mark?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, it's very straightforward. That there will be activities and attractions within the whole landscape for which it's perfectly reasonable that fees will be paid. People have no problems now paying for an activity provided by the outdoor activity centre. If one is providing a zip line, then people have no problem paying for the zip line. But that should not mean that there's a need to charge for access to the wider estate. And I think in a sense, the user of an activity or an entry fee to a specific facility within will be a necessary requirement of the business case in order to generate revenues. But that doesn't deny free public access to the parkland, the landscape. And indeed, within one of these domes, there will be restaurants and cafes which, have amenities around them which you will use and only pay for your food and drink. So I think, Paul, as you've said, it's early days, but the business model will require some revenue streams. But as we do when we visit as customers many other places, we're very happy to pay for the activities we participate in.
Thanks, Terry. Another one here that I'm going to feed you. Has this model been successful anywhere else in terms of regeneration of the local economy? Have you any examples, Terry?
Well, there are examples, where parts of this type of approach are taking place. I mean, there's, a wonderful location in Austria called Saalfelden, which is two communities working together, investing together, and so on. And equally, people always ask, about the idea of the dome. Well, as with most things in life, there's nothing new. So, I mean, here's just a few pictures where domes are already in existence and being used for visitor attractions. This one you see on the main screen, has been open now for almost 20 years. It's the Great Glass House at the National Botanic Garden of Wales. On the next slide, we see the Bluestone National Park Resort, which is kind of like Centre Parks, but it has this wonderful dome with no sides, within which there are restaurants, bars, there's a 400-seat theatre, there's ropes courses, and it works very successfully. It's been open 2 years now. Eden Project is a series of domes with activities, like zip lines and guided walks and so on. And, there are multiple examples of the way zones are being used. Eden have just announced a new dome facility at Morecambe Bay on the east coast of England. There's a company called the Terme Group, which is developing dome-like facilities in projects in Manchester, in the Black Forest, in Ontario, and 5 or 6 other places. And, even World Heritage Site, megalithic tomb in Malta, Hajarim, is covered by a dome. So, yes, domes are relatively easy to find examples elsewhere. So in a sense, there's nothing new. And there is 1 or 2 examples of where this community-driven approach is present. But it's putting it all together in the Muckno environment. And with, clever management, clever community involvement, you genuinely have something which will be a world first.
Thanks, Terry. I have another one here. Who would run the facility is one of the questions, and is there scope to include other attractions in the town?
My immediate answer has to be yes, of course. This just with, as I said, the accommodation, hotel rooms in the town can be part of the overall offer of a dispersed hotel, and so can adding attractions elsewhere in the town and the wider area. Let this be seen to be an open experience within which, the bundle is as big as you want to make it. In terms of who manages it, well, again, the business case will have to refine and define that. But I can happily envisage a community interest company as an overarching body, creating all kinds of facilities for trading companies, concessions, other people to be part of it. I don't want to straitjacket you at this stage by saying there's only one management model. But I think you have the ability to create a management model that is very community friendly.
Thanks, Terry. I have another question. What impact will construction have on businesses that are currently operating on the estate? I think it's that question I'd consider a little bit premature. Look, this is our vision report. We have to go through a process of a business case, design, environmental studies before there's any decision after that whether to proceed to construction or development. There's a few hurdles to cross before then. We have 2 businesses operating on the estate at the moment, and they're operating under license from Monaghan County Council. So look, everybody would have to be considered when we get to that stage, but I think we're a bit down the road before that. Another question here: income levels from overnight visitors. What would be the order of income levels from overnight visitors? Terry, I think that one's a bit premature, but what do you think?
Well, maybe Mark can help out on this at present. But look, there's 2 things which drive what overnight visitors are prepared to spend. One is the ability to keep people longer. The longer they stay, the more they spend. Higher levels of satisfaction always translates directly into higher levels of spend. And if you're moving the accommodation up market, then you're going to get higher levels of spend. So, I would envisage that one ought to be contemplating, in the order of, and this is inclusive, so it's food, drink, accommodation, range of activities, anywhere between $350, $550 a day. And people will say, that's very high, but just reflect on what we're spending now. Good quality accommodation can be €300 a night. You add dinner to that, that's another €70. A couple of drinks are into 100. Activities, zip lines in Wales now are costing, anything between 35 and 70 pounds a ride. So it doesn't take much to build a daily spend of €500 as a minimum. So, if you keep people here longer, get them to have higher levels of satisfaction, opportunities to spend more, and I think you're going to be amazed at what that can translate to. And Mark, I don't know what your views on this are.
Yeah, just to add to the comments that you've made, Terry, from our perspective, the biggest return to the economy is from the international visitor. And as you have rightly presented today, and I said in my introduction as well, we're aiming for this to be an attraction of scale, significant attraction in terms of the northeast generally, that will attract out-of-state visitors. With that, you get the bed night. When you're getting the bed night, you get all the other aspects of the spend, as you have rightly said. So you have the other spend that will hopefully roll from beyond the associated hotel bed into the community in relation to food, other activities, and indeed other potential day trips further into the county and into the northeast generally. So the spend in terms of a visitor perspective is that's a 500 daily spend, very, very achievable indeed. But I suppose the next stage of the project and looking at the feasibility of the project and developing the business plan associated with it, and Paul will come to talk about that later on here in the presentation today, that will look at in detail, I suppose, the return to the economy and the potential spend per head, be that a domestic visitor or be that an international staying visitor. But the potential here, if the proposition is right, the potential for dwell time to extend into multiple days, and with it the associated spend is really, really good in this instance. And we can see from any attraction of scale across the country as a whole, get bed nights associated with that right through from the domestic day trip spend right through to multiple night spend associated with international visitors. So the potentials can be huge.
Thank you, Mark. I'm conscious that we've only 3 or 4 minutes left, and we do have a number of other questions here. I'm going to try and bundle a few of them. Just give a quick answer. We will respond to any questions that have an email address attached. It's the start of the public consultation process. I urge anyone to consider the report and make a submission with your views on the online form that will be available tomorrow at www.monaghan.ie. Just there have been concerns in relation to the impact of traffic on the town. There are concerns in relation to the development of a large hotel on the lake shore. Now, I don't think Terry's vision report envisaged something as specific as that. I think there will be accommodation, Terry, but there's nothing planned at this stage, and certainly we wouldn't want to inhibit on the natural amenity of the area.
No, I mean, I certainly didn't use the word large scale hotel on the Lough Shore, and that's the whole purpose of a dispersed hotel approach, is that you can, yeah, it's the wrong word, but you can get away with a smaller facility on the Lough Shore because your rooms are spread across the town, the wider landscape, up at the golf club, across the islands. So it's a hotel provision, and clearly scale will be determined by the business case and all the environmental studies that you will do. We're just putting down a marker that the idea of a hotel on the Lough Shore in an appropriate location would be the base station for the idea of a dispersed hotel.
I think from the council's perspective, when we with Fáilte Ireland we commissioned Terry, the idea was that there would be something in this for everybody in the town, you know, whether it be in existing hotels or possibly even more accommodation provided in the town centre. This is not something that's focused entirely on the lake. The benefit, it will benefit the entire hinterland. And, you know, we're blessed in that Lough Muckno is so close to the town centre and offers a unique opportunity. It's not a venue that's remote or removed from a town or from a centre of population or even from access roads as well. Question here in relation to plans for the restoration of Hope Castle. Look, I would say, Terry, any development here would centre on the restoration of the castle and the annex, it's just at the moment it's premature for us to invest in that pending an outcome from this process. Have you anything to say on that, Terry or Mark?
No, we clearly suggest directions to look at for the way in which the castle could be used, and we feel that could be much more culturally focused and being, you know, the hub, the starting point of exploration of culture and art in the wider landscape. And if you ended up going the route of the partnership of deep space, this immersive experience, then the castle would, in our opinion, be an ideal venue within which that box can sit.
Well, look, it's now 8 o'clock. We've come to the end of our webinar, and look, this will be available for playback tomorrow on our website, together with the presentation, an executive summary, and the online form, which the public consultation will remain open until the 10th of September, and we'd ask you to spread the word, and we want to engage with as broad a range of people as we can, not just from the town but throughout the region as well. This is the first step, but it is an exciting project. It's, as I say, it's the very first step on the way. It's a vision report. We're looking for consent from the council, and it'll be the elected members, as to whether we proceed to the next phase, feasibility study, and that will involve a business analysis and all the ecological and environmental reports, as well as some high-level design. So it's a staged approach, and we will be engaging with the public if we get to that point. But as I say, consultation is open until the 10th of September. We'd ask everybody to participate in that. We will attempt to address the questions where emails have been left, the questions that have been unanswered here tonight. I'd just like finally to to thank Terry for all his work on the project to date, and thank you for his intensive contribution here tonight, both in the presentation and addressing honestly all the questions that have been put to him. Mark, thank you in Fáilte Ireland for your work, your support for the project and your input into it, and Shane as well, Shane Rafferty, Dipna, our tourism officer, and our backroom team in the background, Gavin and John, who enabled us to put on this webinar. As I said, we intended to bring the public consultation out directly to you, but we're just not in a position with COVID. This is the most appropriate manner we can think of in relation to delivering it, and we hope that you will participate over the next month and come back to us with your feedback on this. So I'd just like to say to everybody, thank you for participating tonight, thank you for your interest, and please click onto the website tomorrow where you get all the details you need, and please give us your feedback on this. So thank you, God bless.